Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Connection with Weekly Comic Book Roundup. We've covered this week's Marvel books. Now it's on to this week's DC books, which, for the first time in a while, all of our DC, we just got one video DC books, and it's just, though it is, to no surprise, all Batman books. What? It's Batman. Anyway, kicking things off, we've got Batman number 113. Part of his next part of Fear State. So where we left off, Gotham was in the grip of fear. New anti-Oracle had popped up and was telling all of Gotham, lies, basically. Seemingly trying to making things, trying and likely succeeding in making things worse. But Seer had, they're called the characters to be called Seer. They hacked into, they co-opted Oracle's network and were able to use her entire network to get it all out. So it seemed as though Oracle was saying all this. Among the lies were that Batman is dead. Batman is very much not dead. So he's, but yeah, the whole thing is that various people got Oracle trying to fix their system. The Insanity Collective hiding out in the Eden that Poison Ivy's made underneath the city. Peacemaker 1 wandering the streets of Gotham. Completely blasted out of his mind on fear toxin. And Harley Quinn and the Gardener are making their way towards Alleytown. But Batman makes his way to Gotham City Police Headquarters. And speaks with Commissioner Montoya, showing that he's not dead, but he tells her that the magistrate planted the bomb in City Hall. Simon stated it to scare the mayor into funding the magistrate program in a plot that he devised to the Scarecrow. The Insanity Collective have broken laws, but they are not a terrorist group. They were manipulated by Satan into becoming scapegoats. Peacekeeper 01 has been dosed with fear toxin and is now loose in the city, no longer under the magistrate's control. Scarecrow is at large and has bigger plans for Gotham. But Montoya tells Batman what she needs, namely that she's going to need proof of any of it to put a stop to Satan the Magistrate. Proof that Satan was working with Scarecrow, any tangible connection between them, someone from the Unsanity Collective willing to testify to how Satan manipulated them, and they need Peacekeeper 01 in police custody. So Batman says he's going to get to work on it. And she continues, but he, of course, leaves because, Batman. But he deals with some of the Batman's going to deal with some of the magistrate drones. Takes them down rather handedly. Makes it back to his brownstone, which is probably no longer blown up, and uses a jury-rigged headset to make sure that the Scarecrow didn't leave anything lingering inside of him. With Ghostmaker assisting. But they do find a few things left behind, and Ghostmaker is able to take care of them. But he also explained, but Ghostmaker then, before they leave, Ghostmaker says, "There's something I need to show you." basically taking Batman into his memory. Gotham University, back when Ghostmaker was still training. And it's explained that Bruce had always harped on Ghostmaker, on his limitations, and because he didn't understand emotions and he couldn't experience, and how to held him back. So he wanted to, learn about fear. He talked to a young grad student, Jonathan Crane, who told him of the fear state of his fear state paper, which no journal would publish. I mean, it amounted to a sort of mind control, a way of using fear to help society evolve. But he goes through the whole plan, and it's like the Joker War is basically the final catalyst to truly, start things off. The whole thing is that he plans to fixate the city on something other than the magistrate. And then, speaking of power, Peacekeeper 01 is having some issues. And is being surrounded by magistrate troops, including Peacekeeper X. Whose primary plan is to just bring Peacekeeper 01 in. It's not going to happen that easily, though. Then in our backup story, focusing on Clown Hunter. Clown Hunter had a run with Scarecrow, and he's been hit pretty hardcore with some fear toxin, and he's tripping big time. Well, falling from a building. So it's basically him going through the hallucinations and having to relive stylized versions of his hallucinatory versions of the death of his parents over and over again. Slight things change here and there, but it's pretty much the same concept. But Scarecrow also chimes in, does get involved briefly, but yeah. But then Clown Hunter realizes no one's caught him. He's still falling, which Scarecrow confirms. And that is where the issue ends. I'm enjoying Fierce. I gotta say, I actually really liked that little bit with Ghostmaker, that he encountered a young Jonathan Crane early in late in his training. It's a nice touch, I think. But anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got Batman Secret Files, Miracle Molly. So Miracle Molly has been kind of at the forefront of the Unsanity Collective in the recent Batman books. Kind of just, I don't necessarily want to say anti-authoritarian, but to a degree, yes. More, kind of more just like bleeding edge tech commune type of thing would be the best way to describe the Unsanity Collective. And she makes things for them, for the various members. Cybernetic enhancements mainly. So we learn her history. She used to be a woman named Mary Kowalski. She worked at a robotics firm in Gotham. She had a husband named Matsuda. No one at the firm took her seriously. Matsuda's family constantly tried to convince her to give up her career and just start making babies. But she discovered Master Wise's broadcast, and that kind of kept her going. And eventually, she decided to actually do something, and she suggested her ideas to her bosses, and yeah, no. It's kind of a case of, well, we'll keep your ideas in mind, and what the boss basically says, we'll keep your ideas in mind, and maybe work them into the next iteration. But yeah, these are these IP. This is now the property of the firm. You get nothing from it. You can't take it to another firm. But she gets into an argument with her. She gets into an altercation with her boss. Takes back her notebook. Things get violent, and she ends up joining Insanity Collective with all of her notes. Leaves a video for herself saying, she's doing this of, her own free will, and she hopes that whoever she is on the other side of the process is stronger than she ever was. And so she goes through the Master Wise's process and comes out as Miracle Molly. It's a fun little. It's a fun little story. Tragic history, but for the character, and I like Miracle Molly. She's an interesting character. There's a certain gray area that rarely gets that. Generally speaking, these gray areas, it's not. Most of the time in superhero comics, it's either a title will either focus on, black and white, good versus evil, or instead of black, it'll be just, or it just focuses on the gray areas. With Miracle Molly, I kind of feel like Batman, which tends to be kind of a little bit of both, has kind of had to deal a little bit more with those moral gray areas. Because yes, as stated in Batman, they have broken laws, but they aren't terrorists. They're just techno hippies. That's the best thing to describe them. Also, there was a review I read of the entire, which a review of the book actually was, it was actually, complimentary. It was, good story. The only thing I took issue with was referring to her as a villain, because she's not. She's not a hero, but she's definitely not a villain. It's kind of like how he just kind of described the Cenobites in the first few Hellraiser movies. They're neither good nor evil. They simply are. But that is Batman Signature Files and Miracle Molly. I will also add, it's kind of sad with James the Fourth leaving DC in November, at the end of November, because I had a really bad feeling we're not going to see Miracle Molly ever again after Fear State's over. Anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got Catwoman, number 35. Where we left off, Catwoman had got tracked down Father Valley, who was planning to murder her sister. The two of them fought, and while the gun fired, it wasn't Catwoman's sister that took the bullet, but rather Detective Hadley. Of course, then the location that they were fighting in blew up, and well, yeah. It turns out that Hadley died of his wound. Selena goes to talk with his partner. And she adds that, yeah, Father Valley likely managed to escape the explosion somehow. We find out that she put her sister on a boat, and her sister basically said, yeah, Selena, you're my sister and I love you, but I can't be around you anymore. You're too dangerous. Being around you is too dangerous for me. But also, yeah, things are getting bad in Alleytown, and the magistrate is flooding in. But got a small quintet of would-be meta defenders of Alleytown: Croc, Clayface, Knockout, Cheshire, and Firefly, who take on the magistrate and do a pretty decent job of bringing him down, locally at least. Then the Seer's message comes out, and so Catwoman reads it, and of course, or hears it, and of course, he gets the point of, oh, Batman's dead. I mean, it's, you don't just tell someone that their ex-fiance, who they're still on really good terms with, is dead. Of course, she's not the only one listening, and she just said, he's not dead. They're wrong. He always comes back. But so she goes to look and goes back to Alleytown while Nigma and Penguin basically have a Skype call with Nigma explaining he can get Penguin Poison Ivy, which can probably manage to keep them well positioned in Simon Saint's takeover of Gotham. But Selina makes it into Alleytown, deals with the magistrate, and is saved by Cheshire. And then she points out that the message from this anti-Oracle message, it's fake. But our shimmer suit wearing assassin is on their way to Alleytown, as are Harley Quinn and the Gardener, and that is where the issue ends. Catwoman's honestly been a fun read of late. I like the Father Valley character. I'm a little sad they killed off Detective Hadley, but I kind of feel like that was more a case of sitting there real like, okay, well, can we fit him in with what's going to be happening? And they probably just couldn't. It was like, well, yeah, bye, buddy. So. It should be interesting to see how the Catwoman Fear State tie-ins shape up. Moving on to our next book, we've got Nightwing number 84. This will be our last Fear State tie-in for the week. Where we left off, Dick Grayson, not Nightwing, Dick Grayson, announced the formation of the Alfred Pennyworth Foundation, which he was going to go philanthropic with his when it came to his designs on Bloodhaven. This would likely make Dick Grayson some of the same enemies that Nightwing has. But Nightwing discovers that something's wrong with Oracle, and so he takes his dog Haley to a neighbor, to a friend, to have them watch it. To have them watch her, and then goes to Gotham Park Row to meet his, to supposedly meet Oracle. Yeah, he gets ambushed by peacekeepers. And it's very much a case of he can only do so much against them, but he gets help from Batman. They manage to evade the peacekeepers as much as they can, but yeah, they can't do so in abilities because, well, peacekeepers don't really care if they, kill civilians. So, to avoid the peacekeepers, they go under the city. But, Batman informs Nightwing that Barbara's in the clock tower, so that's where Dick heads. And yeah, Babs pissed. Someone got into her network, and yeah, she needs to find out where. But she also states she's not doing this alone, and so she puts on her new Batgirl costume. Because, well, yeah, someone messed with her network. This is her fight. This is personal for her. She is gonna kick some. She's gonna kick some ass. And that is where the issue ends. Nightwing, honestly, Taylor's run on Nightwing has been great so far. I got no complaints at all. Loving every minute of it. Moving on to our next book, we've got Batman the Detective, number 5. Yes, this book still exists. It's been a while since we had a Batman the Detective issue. For those who may have forgotten, the basic concept is that a group is killing everyone that Bruce Wayne, Batman ever saved, to bring balance back to the world. Those people were supposed to die. Were supposed to die then, so we're taking care of them now. And among those that they've gone after is one of Batman's old mentors, Henry Ducard. And of course, Bruce Wayne himself. So Bruce has a mobile cave, passes on information to various allies of his in Europe. Goes out. Turns out a large number of the would-be victims have been holed up in a feat of architecture, let's call it, in I want to say Brussels. So Batman goes in, deals with the bad guys, and manages to distract them long enough so that the mobile cave can get in there. Between there would be victims and the group. The group is led by a woman named Equilibrium. So yeah, and she's good. She's actually a really good fighter, and damn near almost killed. Uses an almost fatal blow on Batman. But tear gas, and it's a lot easier to deal with multiple sets when you're the only one who can see. But Equilibrium herself manages to escape. The rest of the group is taken into custody. But the next day, Bruce contacts Ducard, who's got out of the hospital. It turns out, though, that, we find out Equilibrium's past. Someone that Batman had saved, John Gallagher. Well, years after being saved, Gallagher drunkenly got behind the wheel of a car. Hit a car with a family of 3, including Equilibrium. Her husband and child were killed. We also learned that Equilibrium is Ducard's other past student, who was, in fact, willing to take the steps that Bruce wouldn't. So, but yeah, Equilibrium killed John Gallagher and realized, he was saved by Batman. If Batman hadn't saved him, my family would still be alive. So, that became her mission. But then Batman asks if Equilibrium knows that he saved London. Ducard says, yeah, she knows. And he realizes that's her next target. She's going to kill an entire city. And that is where the issue ends. It's a it so many months off, it kind of takes a while to get back in the swing of things with the issue, with the story. But yeah, it's still a good issue. It should be interesting to see how it ends up. And we have one additional book. This is technically from World Batman Day last week, Batman Knightwatch. So this was a freebie, but you got two stories. One basically has Batman chasing Clayface and getting hints from Batgirl via totally not Twitter. But he decides he's going to create his own. Batman says, "Oh, well, we'll make our own social media type thing called Knightwatch. It'd be, a means of, kind of a see something, say something type of thing." Our next story has Batman and Batgirl getting together to save Nightwing, who's dealing with Mr. Freeze. But Batman tests out some thermal augmentation to his bat suit, which pretty much makes it so that Mr. Freeze's freezing has no effect on him at all. But yeah, takes down Freeze. Day is saved. Everyone's happy. Yay! It's an interesting book. It seems to kind of be it feels a lot like the Batman Brave and the Bold cartoon, and kind of the tone of it. This is definitely it's much more. It is much more of a kids comic, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine. But yeah, I could the version of Batman and the Batman is I could easily see referring to Robin as old chum. But it's a fun little book. It's free. You can't really complain, right? I don't mind having picked it up. But anyway, that's it for this week. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Hopefully, barring any unforeseen circumstances, next week's roundup should be on time. Fingers crossed. But anyway, that's going to do it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off saying, live long and rock hard.